Hi, today we're going to talk about how to compare box and whisker plots. So on the screen we have two box and whisker plots for the height of girls and boys in a class, height in inches. So there are multiple different things that could be asked if you are needing to compare them. So for example, you could be asked, which has the smallest minimum? Okay, well, smallest minimum, the boys have the smallest minimum at 61 inches. Which has the smallest maximum? The girls have the smallest maximum at 70 inches. And you could be asked something like that about any of those 5 number summary points. So you could be asked the minimum, quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, or the maximum. Or you could be asked which has the greater range. So range is how far apart is the minimum and the maximum. So in this case, the boys have the greater range because you can just see that the 2 dots are farther apart than the 2 edge dots here for girls. And you could be asked who has the bigger range or the smaller range. You could also be asked about the interquartile range. The interquartile range is just the box right here. And so maybe you're asked who has the smaller interquartile range. In this case, it'd be girls because you can see the box is smaller. When I say smaller, I mean it covers less numbers right here than this box does. Now, often it is good to have a small interquartile range because that means most of your numbers are centralized around that location. There are other times when it's not good to have a smaller interquartile range. Maybe you want something bigger because you're looking for more variety. So if you're asked whether it's good or bad that they have such a small interquartile range, or if you're asked, hey, which one is better, the bigger or smaller interquartile range, it depends on the context. It depends on if you want something that's closer together, you're looking for a more specific number, or if you want something that's more spread out. So when you're comparing box and whisker plots, you're really just comparing what you can see of these two plots. Now, be careful. If they're not drawn like this, if they're not drawn on the exact same number line like this one is, then you need to make sure you pay attention to the scale, right? We could have redrawn this girls number line or the girls box and whisker plot like this: 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. We could have redrawn it like this, and suddenly, just by looking at them, suddenly it looks like this interquartile range is very close to the size of this interquartile range. So you have to make sure you look at the scale, right? So here it goes from 65 to 70, so it's an interquartile range of 5. Whereas here it just goes from 66 to 69, right? So 66, 67, 68, 69. So that's only an interquartile range of 3. So even though they look the same size, we had to look at that scale based on that number line. So that's just a little helpful hint for box and whisker plots.